This is Beyond the Weekend, a podcast of Cornerstone Church, where we dig into the things we didn't have time for on Sunday. Welcome to BTW. Welcome to this week's episode Beyond the Weekend. I'm Mandy Fowler, Director of Spiritual Formation, and today I'm being joined by Abby Young, who's our Director of Engagement. Yes, okay, good, I got it.
Yes.
Your title has changed a couple times. Yes. Explain what that means. What do you oversee?
Yeah, so I oversee a couple different things. So I oversee the hospitality teams and the communications team, and then I also just help people find where they should serve, where's a good fit, and help them take their next step.
Yeah, that's great. And that's something that is really crucial, I think, in a large church. So we have 3 locations, and 2 of them are smaller, and 1 is larger. So there's unique needs and unique congregations and at each one of them. But so that can be a little bit challenging to figure out how to increase engagement at each campus. But it's a really crucial piece of helping people kind of feel like they can make Cornerstone their home. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, well, thank you.
So I wrote this message, which means I get to pick the guest. And yeah, so we're in this week 3 of the other 167 as we're looking at ways that we can worship God with our whole lives and not just in the hour on Sunday. And so serving, I know, is close to your heart, not only because of your job, but I think you care, like it's meaningful for you and your family. You've prioritized it yourself. So I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about the role of serving in our lives and maybe your journey with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I grew up going to church, and you serve just because you serve.
You should, yeah.
You know, and I mean, obviously you sometimes have fun with it, like going in work camps and serving and that sort of thing. But I feel like as I became an adult and really started growing in my faith and owning my faith, I realized the impact that serving has on my spiritual journey. And it's really when I feel the closest to God. I think especially working in a church, you can kind of get lost in the task of what you should be doing. And I feel like just serving is a way to step outside and really just serve others and have the focus be on others than myself. So it's definitely important. My family likes to serve. We, shout out to Hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you'll just see my family plugging in other places too. My daughter loves to do corner kids. So, anyways, and then just as far as like work, it's really, really fun to see people get plugged in where they have a passion and a calling for, and see them just kind of come alive in that. And, that sounds like such a big, like aha moment, and it's not always.
Right.
It's interesting because everyone has their own calling. And so for some people, being with kids, it's their sweet spot and they love it. And for others, they're like, don't ever put me with kids. Right. Put me at the front door and let me greet people. And then other people are like, I want to hide from people. Yes. Where can I be where there's some barriers between me and other people? So it's been fun having conversations with people and helping them find where they come alive and where they feel close to God and where they see God at work.
Right. That's cool to hear. Well, and I think you just mentioned something that I made a point of mentioning in the sermon yesterday. I preached at Heritage Hill, which is that I can't promise that every time you serve, it's going to be some magical experience where everyone's so grateful you're there and you see Christ in other people and the heavens open up. But I said, I think I can promise that over time, you will actually you will experience Christ in this. And I can't tell you how, I can't tell you when. You will never be able to predict. I don't know. Have you had that experience yourself serving?
Yeah, definitely. And I've had a lot of people share with me, this, I'm not really having like that aha moment when I serve. And I think that sometimes that takes like a little bit of a transformation of your mind to just remember that you're really doing it for other people. And like the message was yesterday to be more like Jesus,
right?
That it's sometimes when you take the attention off you and what you can get out of it, it's really revealed to you.
Right.
But yeah, I think too, like sometimes you'll never know the impact that you're making on someone else's life. Right. And it's really just the small things and just trusting that God's using you to work in other people's lives, even if you never ever hear about it.
Right.
And you can reflect on your own experiences too. Is like, how often have you had experiences with people where they impacted you so much, but you've never told them,
right?
You're not,
right. They have no idea.
Yeah. You're not writing them a thank you note. Yeah. And so, just following that calling and that feeling that you should be doing something is what I encourage people to do that.
Right. Yeah. This idea that, serving is imitating Christ, and imitating Christ is worship. And I love that idea. And I think it unlocks something a little bit for me because, over the years, I mean, every year we have at least one kind of serving related sermon or, and there's different approaches that we always take toward it, about this being a community and one body. And we need to, get plugged into this body and make it strong and, all these things. And those are all good approaches and really good reasons to serve. But I think this idea that at the end of the day, this is who God is. Like this is, if Jesus is the visible image of the invisible God, God serves people. Mm-hmm. And so that's like, to me, that was, I mean, it sounds kind of elementary, it's like, why has that never like really hit me before? But like, I think, I don't know. I think like I would love to keep using this as like a reason. Yeah. Like at the end of the day.
Yeah. No. And I can relate to you because, you've been talking about this message for a few weeks. And so, I've heard it a few times. Yeah. And which I always enjoy. But like I just remember sometimes like I previously was on the Family Promise team, which we no longer host families anymore, Cornerstone. But I remember always leaving like feeling so full and alive and like full of joy. Like sometimes I'd even be driving home and I had like goosebumps on me and I never could quite put like my finger on it, except that like, oh, it feels good to serve others, and so it's also like, I'm like now looking back, I'm like, that's connecting with God in that moment. Yeah. And when you're not aware of what's going on, you don't see it as that.
Right.
So it's just like good awareness of like what's really going on in these moments when you are imitating God, you are worshiping him.
Right.
And I'm not a big music person. So like worship at church is not, like, I don't necessarily always connect with God that way. And I always felt like something was maybe wrong with me.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, no, but like I worship in another way.
Yes.
And I really connect that way with him.
Well, and so, and now being able to name that is
cool.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's what I was doing.
Like, it just feels really freeing, actually. Like, there's nothing wrong with me.
No. And hopefully, I'm sure you're not the only person who feels that way. So I think that's really important for us to see and recognize. So one of the scripture places that we hit in the sermon was 1 Peter 4:10, which I'm just going to try and quote from memory right now, which is that when you use a gift, now I'm going to butcher it because I'm in my head. When you use a gift that God has given you to serve, you are stewarding God's grace.
That sounds good.
That's missing some words, but
yeah.
So, and we described steward as like you're a household manager. You're a manager of God's grace. So first of all, that verse assumes you have a gift. Like it doesn't say like if you have a gift from God. It just says when you use a gift, from God to serve. So what would you say to somebody who's like, well, I don't have a gift or I don't know what my gift is?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love that verse because it just reinforces how it takes everyone to use their gift in order to do the work of the church.
Right.
So I would say that the best way to find what your gift is to actually just start trying serving position. So, and it's not just try it once, like maybe start let me think here, like ushering for 6 months and seeing how that works.
Yeah.
Or try, I always hate naming volunteer spots because I feel like I'm going to leave them out.
Right.
But maybe try packing hand-to-hand food,
Right.
or, name what the volunteer spot is. And, you got to give it a good try.
Yeah. Not just once or twice. But
yeah. And, I've had volunteers that, they do it once and they're like, this isn't for me. And it's like most things that you do for the first time do not really feel that great. It takes time to feel comfortable. And so just sticking with it, like I said, for 6 months, and then just having that honest conversation if it's not a good fit, but still continuing to stay serving somewhere.
Right.
Don't just step back and say,
well, that didn't work.
Yeah, I tried it. Obviously serving's not for me. Like I've tried it.
Right. By the way, here's the actual verse, because it's like, I know I'm leaving out some important words. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. So way off. I think that's important. So there's a trial by error. I would say also what I've told people in the past, I mean, first of all, you're willing to have a conversation with somebody. If anybody's like, I need some help figuring this out, or I don't know, I know what my gift is and I don't know where to use it or something. Email Abby. She's happy to meet with you to talk about that. But I would also encourage somebody, I mean, there's tests out there you can do. I always think there's limits to tests, like even personality tests and stuff like are not always fully accurate. But my biggest recommendation is always to ask somebody who knows you really well.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
What do you think my gift is? Because that I think will be really insightful. And sometimes what we think our gift is not.
Right.
And so that's always interesting. Or what we would wish to be our gift, and I think that does play a role in some of this because we, sometimes especially in church spaces, there's some that are more front and center, or some, and we think, oh, I wish I had that gift, or I wish I could sing. That'd be so easy. I do wish I could sing. But
Same. Jealous of Rachel.
But there's other verses in the Bible that talk about every gift is equally important. So just remember that, and don't. And there is a place that you can use your gift that is just as important as what you perceive to be important.
Yeah.
So,
and then in transparency, I just went through all the forms this morning.
Oh yeah.
And when I'm writing these emails to some people who signed up, it's like, I'm so excited for you to use your gift at church, because that's truly how I feel, because it's just exciting when you see people like step into it and want to be a part of something.
Yeah. And excited to see where that goes. So we did talk yesterday, about how, at least I don't know if anyone else said it this bluntly, but I was like, I'm not going to try and convince you that serving has more pros than cons because the truth is we're really busy. Mm-hmm. And I would say most people would be able to come up with like very reasonable like reasons that include kids' activities, job, whatever it is, as to why they can't serve. Would you say that's probably the number one barrier that people have?
Yeah, definitely. In the fall we did a survey. And I want to celebrate that we had a lot of people who, we have a lot of volunteers here at Cornerstone.
Yes, we do.
I would say, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 volunteers, which I know is a big range, but
let's say what our total congregation is so that people know. It's like, 2,500 to 3,000.
Yeah.
So just FYI.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're like, why are you asking for volunteers?
Yes.
So if you go to Heritage Hill, you might be surprised to hear that, but that's all three campuses combined.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, is like, we don't need volunteers. I mean, there's sometimes we need volunteers, but it's really to, have you grow in your spiritual journey. And so, I just like to say that too, but, a schedule, making a commitment, when you already have a very busy life, is the number one barrier. Mm-hmm. And, I think we're also stepping into a culture where it's like, say no, boundaries, don't overcommit.
Right. Which is good. And we encourage, boundaries.
Yes. But there are some things that, that I get careful of saying like, you should do.
Right.
But really will make an impact on your life and is worth carving out the hour or 2 hours to to serve.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think I emphasized this yesterday, but like, this isn't, our schedules are very real. Our full lives are very full. We're not trying to diminish that in any way. And yet this isn't some optional way to live, like if we're supposed to be imitating Christ, who literally says, do what I do, after he washed the disciples' feet, and so but how that looks, like the shape it can take in your life, could be different depending on, what's going on in your life.
Right.
And so we're not saying, the only way this has to look is you have to join a serve team here.
Yeah.
If truly your schedule is full and, there's other barriers to doing that, you can't commit or whatever, then you need to take responsibility for how this looks in your daily life, at work or in your family or with your neighbors or your, always have your eyes open to how you can be serving somebody. And I think not only will you be surprised at how many opportunities you find, but that will start shaping you. Like it becomes a rhythm then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I kind of always think of it as like a little bit of a challenge when someone's like, okay, here's my unique, here's my unique situation.
Yeah,
like I'm a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids and my husband travels a lot.
Right.
And you're like, okay, well, like if you can't serve, you can't serve. Like there's no pressure, but like, here are some opportunities.
Right.
Like you could go and pack hand to hand with your kids, which is amazing. You could be on the card team. You could be on the prayer team.
Yeah.
The list goes on of ways that you can do things that have some flexibility. Yeah. In the past week, I've talked to a couple of women who are like, we're retired and snowbirds now. Like it's hard to commit to the schedule. And I'm like, okay, let's sit down and talk then and get creative, because I don't want to lose you if you still want to be on this, on the team.
Right.
And so, yeah, I feel like Cornerstone has so many different opportunities to meet so many different schedules.
Right. Right. So, so we're not trying to, we have to be careful because we don't want to overextend anybody, and we don't want to add the thing to your plate that's going to tip into feeling crazy. But we do want you to, think about it. Because I do think, many of us have something on our plate that could stand to go. Yeah.
Now, Mandy, you're the person interviewing, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, we live in a world where everyone wants you to volunteer, though. So, like, my kid's school wants me to volunteer.
Right.
The YMCA wants me to volunteer.
Right.
So, like, when you're doing those volunteer places, is that imitating Christ in those moments?
I say yes, because this is a posture, and I would say use your discernment and prayerfully decide, where's the right place for you to plug in. But absolutely, I think that we just had the Women's Connect last week, and I remember you were on the panel, and also we had someone else on the panel who mentioned that they serve at church, but they also serve at the zoo. Yeah. And that brings her a lot of joy in life. And like, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be explicitly Christian, at all. Like the place where you're just like being of service to other people and serving other people is imitating Christ, whether they know it or not, like you have that on your mind, and that can still be a connection to God that you can make because you're doing it intentionally and thinking about Jesus as you do it. Yeah. So I think that can still be a place to meet God. I was thinking, just use your own wisdom and discernment in terms of like where, if I have limited time, should it be a church? Should it be in the one of the many community organizations that we have, in your kids' school, wherever that is, like, just be intentional about it. Yeah.
When you were answering that, I was thinking, though, like a benefit of volunteering or serving at church is the community aspect. And when you're around other people who, it just brings a community. You get to meet other people and you just feel like you belong more, which is...
Well, and I know that is a reason that sometimes people do sign up to serve, which is, I think, a great reason. I would never say that's, not a good reason. That is a way, especially if you go to 84th Street, which is a larger place and harder to meet people. That is a great way. Yeah, absolutely. To build community and get to know other people in your church. So, I would of course, highlight that. And we, I'm not trying to knock serving at church. I just want to make sure people, that we just have eyes open to like the different shapes. Because it says in 1 Peter 4:10, God's grace in its various forms. So I'm always careful to like, this doesn't have to look one way for every single person. Yeah. But I think that's a great question and a great, truly a situation that most people probably find themselves in, because there's lots of people asking for help right now. Any other final thoughts, or if you haven't filled out your form, you still can.
Yes. Forever. You can fill it out.
It's indefinitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you fill out the form online. You can go to cornerstonemi.org/serve. And there's just a form there with different categories of ministries. And then you click that, and then it drops down to even more specific categories. And people will be in contact with you. And if you talk to them and you're like, this isn't really what I thought it was, or my schedule doesn't really fit with this, you can try again and fill out a form.
Right. Yeah. You can look for something else. Yeah. But this is just a way for us to kind of just help people see what opportunities we have here and give them an easy way to plug in or find out more information. So we hope you take advantage of that if you're not currently serving. If you are currently serving, thank you.
Yeah. Invite someone who isn't serving to serve with you. That does remove a barrier.
Right.
When people are personally invited to serve with someone that they know, it just instantly, it instantly makes them feel more comfortable. And I think if you were to put yourself in those shoes, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If someone says, hey, I think you'd enjoy this, you want to come with me, that's absolutely the best way to get plugged in. So we hope you'll do that. Anyway, thanks, Abby.
Yes, of course.
And thank you. And please stick with us. We have a couple more weeks of this series, and I hope you will continue to engage with it. Thanks, and bye. Beyond the Weekend is a podcast of Cornerstone Church, a multi-site church in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. Please follow for more episodes and sermons, or find us online at www.cornerstonemI.org. Thanks for listening.